Now, what makes India a federal country? Let's see. Before this, we have studied about two types of federations coming together and holding together federation. And now we are going to study that what makes India a federal country. So first of all, if we see here that let us begin with the constitution. So India had emerged as an independent nation after a painful and bloody partition. That was Pakistan was separated from India, and during this many people were killed. There was a civil war among the people in India, and soon after independence only, several princely states which were found during the British Raj. These princely states were afterwards, soon after independence, were joined into the India, the country. Okay, our country joined all the princely states together and formed a union of states. This is why we call India as the union of states instead of a federal country. And therefore the constitution also declared that India is the union of states, and the central government is also called to be as union government, right? And that is why it is called as union government in India. And if we look at all the 7 features of federalism, then we can see that all these features that we have studied in the key features of federalism, all these principles are followed by the Indian government, and the Union of India and the state governments, both of them have separate powers in India. But with these two levels of government, we are also having one third level of government which is called as local government. So this local government was formed in India as the states in India were very large, and because of this large states of India, the local governments were set up so that whatever are the problems of the people can be solved easily by those people only, and therefore these type of local governments were set up. That is, from the powers from the central and the state government was given to the local government, and this is what is called as decentralization. This decentralization was just done, that the powers from the central government and the state government were given to the local government. This decentralization was done because it was felt that the problems of different regions are well known by its people, instead of the chief minister sitting in the state or other ministers. So the people know well about their own problem, and that is why these local governments were formed. So in this manner, India is having 3 levels of government. But according to the constitution, when it was framed, there were 2 levels of government, that is the state and the central level of government, and both these 2 levels of government were given different subjects in which they can make their own laws, and no one can interfere in making any policies or laws in these type of subjects. So like first type of list which was given was union list. The union list consisted of those type of subjects which were of the national importance, and these subjects which were of the national importance were like defense. Okay, defense may all these type of forces will come, like military and navy and air force. All these type of defense forces are those subjects of the central government in which it can make laws. Apart from this, banking, foreign affairs and currency issue, all these are under the control of the the subject of the central government, because these all are of the national importance or nation's importance. For all these type of subjects, a uniform policy should be made, a uniform policy should be made on these matters throughout the country, and that is why these type of subjects of national importance were given to the central government. Apart from this, state list is also there. In the state list, all those subjects are given in which the state government can make laws, like that of irrigation or trade or commerce or agriculture, police, all these. Apart from these two lists, state and the union list, there is also, we can see here, union list and state list, there is also one third list, concurrent list. In the concurrent list, both the levels of government, that is the central as well as the state governments, can make laws, and the subjects of this list includes education, forest, adoption, succession, and marriage, trade unions, all these subjects, in which both the levels of government can make laws. But because both the levels of government are making laws in these type of subjects, there may some type of conflict arise. There may arise a type of conflict. If the conflict arises, then always the law of the central government will prevail. Because as we have already studied that in the holding together federation, central government is more powerful than the state governments. Then if any new type of subject is going to be introduced, because our constitution was made in the very past, so if new subjects are going to be introduced, then who is going to, which level of government is going to take control of these subjects? So we can see here that our central government is having some residuary powers, extra powers, some residuary powers. So whenever any type of new subject is going to be introduced, like that of computer software, which came after a long period of time when the constitution was framed. So this computer software subject will be moving into the control of the central government, where the central government can legislate it or to make laws in it. Then afterwards, as we have already studied it, that in the holding together federation, equal powers are not distributed to different states, but special powers are distributed to different states, as we have already seen, like in Jammu and Kashmir, there was a separate constitution, and this separate constitution was a type of special power given to this Jammu and Kashmir. But afterwards, in 370 Act, according to this act, this Indian constitution is now a part of that Jammu and Kashmir. Now their separate constitution is removed. But just want to tell you that because of, you can see here that in the holding together federation, special powers are given to different states. In the similar way, Nagaland was the particular state in India where this Citizenship Amendment Act was not going to be applied in that state. So these are special powers to different states. But in holding together federation only, like that of India and Spain or Belgium, some of the, like in India, there are some of the areas which are having small power. These areas are too small to become a state, or these are the areas which cannot be also merged with any of the state. Therefore, these type of areas are to be given the status of union territories, and these union territories are actually under the control of the central government. Okay. Now, if we talk about the provisions in the constitution, any type of rule or regulation which is there in the constitution, if any change is going to be made in that rules or regulations, then is it possible that amendment can be done? So answer is yes. There can be change to be brought about in the provisions of the constitution. But for this, a very long procedure is there. What happens is that in the parliament, both the houses, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, both these houses should be having about 2/3 of the majority, which means near about 65% of the majority is required to amend any old rule or law. But this is not enough. About half of the states, of the total states of India, also should give consent to this change or amendment in the law of the constitution. Okay, so this is what happens if any amendment is going to be done in the constitution. Now the judiciary plays a very important role in overseeing the implementation of constitutional provisions and procedures, because the judiciary is the interpreter of the constitution. Whatever type of laws or different rules and regulations are written down in the constitution, it interprets it, and it also supervises if there is any type of dispute between the central and the state government. Then judiciary is playing a very important role in solving those disputes. In this, the Supreme Court as well as the High Court, both the levels of court, are going to solve the dispute. Whatever is written in the constitution about their powers, separate powers given to them, and these both the levels of government are having the main aim of economic development and political and social development of the country, and they can implement their different policies, programs for which they need fund, so they can levy taxes to raise fund and to implement their policies. After this, if you come to a map which is given on page number 18, you will see that there is a map of 1947 at the time of British Raj. There were several different provinces which you will not be finding in a new map, like that of United Provinces, Rajputana, Central India, Central Provinces, Hyderabad, Mysore. You can see all these are the different type of provinces at the time of British Raj in India. But afterwards, our new map of India, you can see that there are small different states. So how these states were formed, let's see. So first of all, how is federalism practiced? So constitutional provisions are necessary for the success of federalism, but these are not sufficient. If the federal experiment has succeeded in India, it is not merely because of clearly laid our constitutional provisions. So whatever type of rules and regulations are given there in the constitution, by these provisions of the constitution, the unity in the country cannot be maintained. For unity to be maintained, there are also some other things which should be fulfilled, like that of the mutual trust among the people of diverse population, how they want to live together, what is their agreement to live together in the country. These all are more important. And if we see here that in India there are some different linguistic states. Why we call it as linguistic states? Because the states in our country India, were formed on the basis of languages. What happened was that wherever the area was there, where same language speaking people used to live, that area was converted into a state. But it is not possible that all the states or all the regions in the country would be having different language speaking people, because if you come to the north of India, we'll find here that most of the people are in vast area are speaking Hindi. So how to differentiate or how to divide the states here? So not only on the basis of language, but states were also formed on the basis of culture, ethnicity or geography. So these were the other you can say basis of forming any state, where same culture people were found, same customs, their habits were going to be same, or maybe on the basis of geography, that how that region is actually being divided, okay, and on the basis of that only the state is going to be formed. So you can see some examples of the states are like that of Nagaland, Uttarakhand, Jharkhand. These were also turned into different states. And if we see here that there were also certain states which were their name were changed from the previous name, like that of Travancore Cochin. Travancore Cochin जो है जगह, उसका नाम आपका केरला बन गया. It is Kerala now. In the similar way, other name was also changed, like Orissa was now turned to or converted to Odisha, and in the similar way, Pondicherry was renamed to Puducherry, a union territory. So in this manner, also there were also some very big states which were from where different new states were formed, like that of Uttar Pradesh. From Uttar Pradesh, this Uttaranchal or Uttarakhand was separated. A new state was formed. Okay, so these were all the different states which were formed on the basis of socio-political issues, not on the language, but on the basis of socio-political issues. And from Bihar, Jharkhand was separated. Okay, from Bihar only this big state, Jharkhand was formed. Now, if we look at this particular paragraph on page number 20, in this on this paragraph, if you'll see here, there was a big test for the Indian leaders now, that whatever number of states were formed, which were having different language speaking people, now was that possible that all these different people in different states were going to live together? This was a test for the leaders of India. So in this test, what was the result? Result was that our Indian leaders were successful in maintaining peace in the country. All the people who were just separated on the basis of their language into different states, they were all living peacefully and no problem was created till now. And so in the first test, we were passed. After that, if we talk about the language policy, in the language policy, this was the second test for Indian Federation, that our constitution has not given any special status to any one particular language, but Hindi was identified as the official language. But this Hindi was a particular type of language, is a particular type of language which is found in India, to be spoken by near about 40 to 41% people only. Not all the people are speaking Hindi. There are so many different languages found in India, which are more than 1500 languages. Okay, more than 1500 languages. And apart from this, when these 1500 languages were grouped together, so that after grouping, the number of languages should be reduced. So if we say how this grouping is done, if we say, then this Bundelkhandi language, Bhojpuri language, and Rajasthani language, okay, these are all similar to Hindi. So in this manner, many other these type of languages were grouped up into one Hindi language. In this similar way, another type of languages were also grouped up, and the number that reached was now from more than 1500 languages, we reached to the number 114 languages. Out of these 114 languages, which were very major languages spoken by the people in India, were about 22. So these 22 languages were scheduled in the 8th schedule of the constitution, and therefore these 22 languages with Hindi are called as scheduled languages, in which many different languages were included, like that of Assamese, Bengali, Bodo, Dogri, Gujarati, Hindi, Kannada, Kashmiri, Konkani, Maithili, Malayalam, Manipuri, Marathi, all these, near about all 22 languages are there, which are scheduled languages. So, for example, if you are going to appear for any government or in any particular type of examination which was going to be conducted by the central government, then you may opt any one of these 22 scheduled languages. So this is the benefit of making the languages scheduled, okay, in the 8th schedule. And in the another way, if we see that in Sri Lanka, this Sinhala was made the official language, which created more difficulties for Tamil people in Sri Lanka. But our India did not want it to do like this, because India is a federal country and it wanted to maintain unity. And because of this, every state is having its own official language, because the states were also formed on the basis of languages only. But in 1965, it was forced by certain different people that English should be removed from India and only Hindi will be spoken. So in Tamil Nadu, a great revolt was started, because most of the people in the south of India are speaking English. So after seeing over or observing about this or inquiring about this issue, the central government has taken the decision that okay, that English and Hindi both will be to be taken in the official language. All the official work of the government and everything will be done in this English and Hindi language. So in this way, these two languages are there in our country, and English is now not going to be removed from India. So the flexibility shown the Indian political leaders helped our country avoid the kind of situation that Sri Lanka find itself in. So our India has not done any type of favoritism to any particular language like it was done in Sri Lanka, and which resulted to civil war. So our country was saved from any type of these type of conflicts, because each of the state is having its own official language.